Good morning. I wonder what we're going to talk about today. I wonder if we got anything to talk about after last night. Man, I went to bed early. And when I say I went to bed early, that doesn't mean I went to sleep early. I just was laying in bed, literally not doing anything, not trying to do anything. I have some stuff planned for the day that I'm going to have to do anyway, but I had stuff planned for today. I have a podcast planned at 11 that's non-related to anything that I'm going to be doing, and then a couple other things. But last night, I don't know the exact time. I could tell you the exact time, but sometime around 8 o'clock, I started getting messages from people. I didn't read these messages, by the way. My phone was out here in the living room, and I was, like I said, already in bed. My wife comes around and she says, Michael, they're blowing your phone up about some arrest affidavit that has been released. And I was like, oh, man, I guess I better look at this arrest affidavit if they released a arrest affidavit. So I grabbed my phone, and I want to tell you, first of all, I had someone make a comment in here that this arrest affidavit wasn't leaked, like that the DA and the sheriff's office wanted to put it out. I can guarantee you 100% that this arrest affidavit was leaked. And the reason why is because the sheriff's department and the DA office they're under a judge order, not a DA, not a sheriff's order, they're under a judge order for a gag on this case. And if you know anything about Colorado, they have a very distinct way on how they release paperwork. Right here, we are at the Colorado Judicial Branch website. And this is where right now, even to this very day, all of the forms and paperwork in the Letitia Stauch case are placed officially by the sheriff's department, by the judicial system. When something's going to be released to the public, it is going to be released on this website, in this forum. And to this day, there is no arrest affidavit on this website, even to this very day. Now, I also have the cell phone number of the sheriff's PIO and the DA's public information officer, PIO, public information officer. And the DA's public information officer was not happy about the release of this arrest affidavit. However, this arrest affidavit, and trust me, it wasn't me. I know everybody, I want to play that song. It wasn't me. You can blame it on whoever. It wasn't me. I didn't even release the affidavit till hours after I received it, and then hours after it was all over the internet. So I'm sure history, and I'm sure some pages will like to say, oh, it's Dad with the phone. He's meddling with this case. It wasn't me. I promise. But nevertheless, we have what seems to be, and what I have kind of confirmed with the PIO officer, to be the official, some sort of official arrest affidavit / report from the police, which is in direct violation of a gag order. So somebody's head's going to roll if they ever track down Phil. This was released by Phil, by the way. If y'all don't know Phil, then y'all need to find out who Phil is, and then you'll understand who released this. But Phil is the one who released it, and I hope Phil doesn't lose his job. Now, what does this affidavit tell us? Well, it tells us that the cops knew Letitia was involved in this thing about from day one. Pretty close. Day one, day two, they were on her like they were on her. It also tells us that she's an out and out straight liar. She's 100. I mean, she tells some tales of, she tries to blame a Mexican straight up. She tried to blame a Mexican for rape and murder of her stepson. So if you haven't read it, it is a long tale. Listen, I have tweets from a couple of people last night up until, I'm gonna tell you when that last tweet came in. As I'm reading this, going through this, there's other reporters, there's other people reading this and going through this. I had a tweet at 1:23 a.m. from someone that says, poor Eduardo, whoever that is, because this is Eduardo is the one who she blamed for rape and murder. Let me see here. Oh,
your coffee is good, Mr. Dalton.
Yeah, today I made coffee. I made the coffee this morning because I had to get up. So here's the deal. I do have a 11 o'clock appointment with one of my lifelong friends that's coming on the podcast. And we're going to talk about everything but crime. So I'm going to try to go through this affidavit over the next hour and a half, couple of hours with you guys. And trust me, it is a lot of information. There's a lot of little stories in here. There's a lot of little extra tidbits. But I want to go through it and give it its fair shake. I want to assure everyone, first of all, that this is not going to ruin anything, okay? Normally, in criminal cases like this, the arrest affidavit is released early on. So, and the objection from the defense prosecuting attorney, they did not actually object to the arrest affidavit being released. So just so you understand that me talking about this and this thing getting released to the public, although it is going to be interesting to see what happens behind the scenes and if anyone gets in trouble, this is not going to ruin the case. So if you're sitting at home, like screaming at your television, shut up, Dad, shut up. If you're on some Facebook page right now going, Dad's going to ruin the case because he's going to talk about this arrest affidavit. This arrest affidavit is going to be public knowledge at some point in this system of court and trial that we have. They normally are already public knowledge. Normally, they already get released. Normally, anything that goes before the judge's eyes, and the judge has seen this arrest affidavit, anything that goes before the judge's eyes become public knowledge. It becomes public record. And so normally, this would already be out. The fact that it was leaked through some backhand channels, probably not. I know it's not detrimental to the case. I do think it could be a cause for contempt if someone did this. If they did it unknowingly, like somebody got copied and then somebody copied and then somebody copied and sent it out, it's one thing. But this isn't going to ruin Leticia's. She's not getting off on a loophole. She's not going to be able to say, oh, yeah, they released the arrest affidavit and the jury knew about it. No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. So just take that out of your mind. So as we're talking about this, don't think that this is anything that wouldn't normally be released. In this case, it was sealed. All right. The following affidavit is submitted to court to document the probable cause in support of requests for the assurance of the arrest of Stauch Letitia, date of birth 8/4/83. She's as old as you. She's your age, baby.
Cool.
This offense is fully documented in El Paso County Sheriff's Office, reported 2013-82, detailing the offense listed below. All right. This is not an easy read, so I'm probably not going to actually read through a lot of this because a lot of this we already know. This arrest affidavit is in movement to arrest someone in the murder of Gannon Stauch. This is the victim. This is what this is identifying here. Your affidavit submits to the following facts demonstrate probable cause and believe that on or about January 27, 2020 in the county of El Paso in the state of Colorado, the defendant Letecia Stauch, also known as AKA TBAG, did commit the following offense, hereafter referred to as the violations: murder in the first degree, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with the deceased human body, tampering with physical evidence. What you realize about this is that this arrest affidavit is the original arrest affidavit that has not been altered when they added the added charges on. So we know that they've added a bunch of charges on, which means this arrest affidavit was the original affidavit that was filed back in like the 28th. I think this was actually filed, date filed February 28, 2020. So this is a month after January 27th. This is that arrest affidavit. Now we know that she was arrested on, I want to say March 2nd or 3rd, but we've talked about this, by the way. If you've seen some of our videos, we actually talk about this because this was the original arrest affidavit that if you go back into the Colorado Judicial Branch's website, you can actually find where the judge seals this arrest affidavit. And so, again, this thing was filed early in the case. This isn't, they've probably updated this thing. This isn't the updated one. All right, the facts in this affidavit come from what? No, I think how this thing got released is internally, they will pass these around electronically.
Bold enough to shoot it out.
I think that maybe it could have got copied to someone who wasn't party to it and didn't care, like isn't party of the case. Somebody who wanted to send it to their best friend and their best friend Phil, because this is Phil's problem. Phil has an issue when it comes to the court because this is Phil's Google account. Either way, let's see here. Let's kind of go through this because a lot of this stuff we've gone through. Some of this we already knew because we already knew why she was arrested. We knew that they had evidence and probable cause and all this stuff. Let's see here. Investigators also recovered a significant amount of exterior video footage from an individual privately owned neighbor security system, businesses around Colorado Springs, Colorado, and cameras in other surrounding areas. Some cameras provide recorded footage of the exterior of the Stauch resident. Historical cell records and historical cell site data was analyzed. Some, but not all, of available photos and other evidence collected from the aforementioned search warrants and other investigative steps are included below and are not meant to represent all the evidence available. So one thing you need to understand when you're reading affidavits, they don't want to give everybody, they're getting enough information to the judge to make an arrest. That's it. They're not giving enough information to the judge to get a conviction. And you know, and I know, it doesn't take much to arrest someone. It doesn't. You can arrest them for virtually anything, but this is enough information to arrest her on the charges of murder, blah, 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 blah. All right. Facts in support of probable cause, the Stauch family, and general information. All right. This kind of goes through who we know. Now, I want to say this, that there is some information in this arrest affidavit that strongly points to Gannon's stepsister, 17-year-old Harley, strongly points that she had knowledge of what was going on, or should have had, or could have had knowledge, I should say. Maybe she didn't put two and two together, but she could have, should have, maybe known something was up. It goes through and it mentions a lot of key stuff talks about the vehicles. It talks about the rented vehicles. It talks about the multiple rented vehicles. Okay, background of those mentioned in the affidavit. Letitia is the last person known to the investigators to see 11-year-old Gannon. Letitia is Gannon's stepmother and was Gannon's only known adult supervision in the days preceding and on the day of his murder. At the time of Gannon's murder, Letitia was employed by School District 20 as an assistant teacher, although I have also learned that she is no longer employed there. I was able to locate prior criminal history of Letitia and learned that in North Carolina, Roberts County court case, Letitia was convicted after a trial for communicating threats, a misdemeanor, but I was not able to locate her sentencing information. Letitia was also convicted of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and was sentenced to 45 days confinement, 18 months of probation. Although not criminal in nature, I was able to locate documents, the suspension of Letitia's North Carolina teaching certificate. As part of the document is reported that Letitia filed unsubstantial claims of harassment and retaliation, and the North Carolina State Board found that she breached her contract. Letitia's criminal history is only included by way of background for the court, and because Letitia has been convicted of previous crimes. It is not meant to indicate guilt of the violations or to be considered as the sole basis of probable cause for the arrest warrant. So, what's going on there is the cops do their due diligence. They began to look into the background of the last known person. They found some criminal history, but he's stating, listen, just because she has a little criminal history doesn't mean she's guilty. And Mr. Stauch was deployed with the National Guard during the dates of January 25th to January 28th. So basically, immediately in this paragraph 15, it tells us Al's got a pretty solid alibi between the 25th and the 28th. So immediately they can actually rule out the stepfather, or rule out the father, rule out Al pretty immediately in this investigation once they realize. And we talked to you guys on this. And we talked to Al's brother. Al's brother told us the story of Al's mother being there for 5 days prior. And then on the 25th, Al and Al's mother went to the airport, Colorado Springs Airport. Al flies out to his deployment. Al's mother flies home. Okay, so that puts us at the 25th when Al takes off. Most of this we kind of knew. Of note, and some portions of the affidavit, depending on the date of events discussed, the investigation may be referred to as a missing persons investigation or a murder investigation. For the further purpose of this affidavit, they are indeed one and the same. At this point, he's just saying, listen, we were investigating this as a missing person. Now we're investigating as a murder, and boom, they're the same. No big deal. Subsequent information primarily surround people Monday, January 27th. On Wednesday, January 29th, investigators have taken independent steps to corroborate information received throughout the investigation. And as most circumstances have video footage, cellular communications, and location records, security system records, and other records to support the below claims. The summary section is only meant to give the court an overview of the investigation, and the facts supporting this summary will be articulated below. Is there any more coffee? As will, let's see here. On January 27th, at or about 18:55 hours, Letitia Stauch reported Gannon missing after calling 911. During that call, she was instructed to call the El Paso County non-emergency line. In summary, Letitia stated Gannon was supposed to be home approximately 1 hour ago and that she was unable to locate him at his friend's house. Her story dramatically changed multiple times over the following days. Hey. So right off the bat, we find out in this police affidavit. Oh, Letitia's lying. Most of us knew this. Most of us recognize this. Most of us saw this pretty quickly. As will be discussed below, investigators do not believe Letitia went to any neighboring houses to attempt to locate Gannon and was one of many lies told by Letitia during the investigation. TBAG was unable to provide the accurate location of the homes she went to, the names of Gannon's friends he was supposed to be playing with, or the names of the parents of Gannon's friends. Deputies responded to TBAG's residence 6627 Manham Drive, Colorado Springs, Colorado, and were unable to locate Gannon. Deputies conducted a limited search of the residence and took report from Letitia. Some of the interactions between the responding deputies and Letitia were captured on body-worn camera. A missing persons investigation was initiated and in the coming days developed into a murder investigation. Hey, whoever's leaking this police affidavit, can we get that body cam footage? I'm just saying. Can you just pass it over here to Dad. Just message it over here to Dad. Dad with a phone. Here's some BWC. That's all you have to do. BWC on the way. A tip line was established. Investigators received hundreds of tips leading from public by virtue of emails, telephone calls. As part of this tip line, 2 ransom notes were received by email demanding money in the form of Bitcoin in exchange for Gannon's return. Investigators took steps to validate these ransom notes, including resolving and geolocating the internet protocol address, the IP address, from the email headers, and requesting subscriber information from the internet service providers that host those IP addresses. One of these ransom notes was sent from a foreign-based email account that is accessible by multiple individuals. Investigators were unable to trace the user IP address and believe the ransom notes to be fraudulent and strictly designed as a scheme to receive money. Damn. Ransom notes, Bitcoin. Interesting. Letitia initially claimed that she last saw Gannon on January 27, 2020, when he left their residence to play with her friends somewhere around 1550 hours. Based on the facts outlined below, Letitia's statement to the El Paso County Dispatch, Letitia is the last person to ever see Gannon alive. Letitia stated she attempted to find him at the neighboring house and sent her daughter, Harley Hunt, date of birth 5/1/2002, to look for Gannon at a park. Letitia lied to investigators on multiple occasions, has unexplained abnormal behavior such as obtaining a rental car, disconnecting her cell phone from the cellular network for an extended period of time, the false reporting of an alleged rape, abnormal patterns of travel, a continuous evolving story with material changes in fact circumstances, and has since left the state of Colorado. These actions, when combined with other facts in this affidavit, support the totality of probable cause for the arrest warrant for the requested warrant and will be discussed below. This is pretty telling of a liar. They are literally laying out the facts that she started lying off the bat. Now, they dropped a few things in on us right there. The false story of a rape. They dropped in that there was yeah, exactly. DJ is like, did I miss something? They just said rape. Oh yeah. She tried to blame this on the Mexicans. I'm not even lying. She tried to blame a brown person, racist as she is, tried to say a Mexican did this. Whew. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. All right. This is where it's not going to get easy. If you are easily offended or if you do not want to read through the details of what police believe. Now, this is where you actually need to listen. because we know she tells a bunch of lies. We know she says a bunch of things during the next couple of days to the press, to social media. She says a lot of that. She says a lot of lies, right? What you need to pay attention to is the next couple of paragraphs where the cops actually kind of line out what they think happened, when they think it happened, and where they think it happened. Because this is the stuff that they have to prove, right? This is the stuff that they're going to have to go forth and prove with evidence. And so the following section will outline the investigators have learned about Leticia's activity on the 27th, 2020, and outline the period when Gannon was likely murdered. Some of the information contained in this section will be repeated in other portions of the affidavit or discussed later in more detail. Additionally, there are evidence sources that are mentioned here but not fully defined in other sections. Investigators believe that Gannon was murdered by Letecia Stauch in the afternoon hours after approximately 14 hours. That is... 3:14 of January 27th, 2020. Maybe, wait. Is that 3? No, that's 2:14. At his residence, and more specifically in his bedroom. Physical evidence. Now listen, we've told you this. We already kind of told you this, that this happened in the house. We did live videos that people got furious at us talking about this, saying there's no way he was murdered at the house. You couldn't have this information. You don't know this information. We talked about this, okay? We are now reading it from the police affidavit. Now, we just had one-line sources telling us. We didn't have the detailed information. But we told you about this on Dadwithaphone. It's on live videos. Investigators believe that Gannon was murdered by Letitia in the afternoon hours after approximately 14 hours of January 27, 2020 at his residence, and more specifically in his bedroom. Physical evidence recovered from the residence and inside Gannon's bedroom supports that a violent event occurred in his bedroom.
You can go look at it in my bed, okay? Why don't you look at the first couple of pictures and see if you find something different.
Which caused bloodshed, including blood spatter on the walls and enough blood loss to stain his mattress, soak through the carpet pad, and stain the concrete below his bed. Some photographs of this evidence are included. Based on the evidence recovered from the residence, Gannon's remains were eventually brought through the house into the garage and likely loaded into the back of Leticia's Volkswagen. After cleaning the murder scene, Letitia utilized the Volkswagen to transport and dump Gannon's remains on the evening of January 28, 2020. Letitia likely disposed of his remains off of Highway 105 South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. Indeed, the Metro Crime Laboratory determined that blood discovered in Gannon's bedroom, the stock garage, and blood on a piece of particle board located off of Highway 105 South Perry Park Road all matched his DNA profile. So you guys specifically remember when we drove past the search, that is where they are talking about. Not anywhere else they searched. That very location that we drove by when we did a little bitty pass by, we're during the search area. Right there, they're saying they found a piece of particle board that had blood on it that matched Gannon. Now, just take that in for a second. On Monday, January 27, 2020, Gannon Stauch stayed home from school. Based on the text messages from Letitia to Mr. Stauch, Gannon was up most of Sunday evening with a stomach problem. Letitia did tell Gannon's school, Grand Mountain Elementary, that Gannon would be absent on Monday. Investigators were able to verify that Gannon was marked as an excused absence that day. Letitia also told Al that I'm just going to give them an excuse at work and stay with him. Indeed, Letitia did come up with an excuse and told her employer via text at or about 4:37 hours that her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car and she would not be able to come to work that day. Who freaking gets out of work by saying someone's dead? My stepdad's dead. My stepdad was killed in a car accident. I'm going to take the day off work. Other electronic evidence, such as time and date stamp, photographs, videos recovered from Leticia's cellular telephone that indicated Gannon was likely still alive during the morning of January 27th. As displayed in paragraph 54 below, images were taken of Leticia's cell phone at or about 8:13 and 8:17 hours on the morning of January 27th, showing Gannon sleeping in his bed. Of particular note, his Nintendo Switch, a small video game console, is visible in the photo lying next to him on the bed. Mr. Stauch has said that his gaming system was high importance to Gannon. To date, investigators have been unable to locate the Nintendo Switch. It should also be noted that Letitia used her phone the following day, January 28, 2020, at or about 12:57 hours to conduct a Google search. Can Nintendo find my Switch? This is also detailed in a list of some of her search history in paragraph 141. Reasonably occurred because she was contemplating how she would dispose of the Switch. I conducted a Google search for the term "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" and learned that the Switch does not come with any sort of tracking ability. As such, Letitia likely felt it was safe to dispose of the Switch and use the missing Switch to help deceive law enforcement into searching for Gannon as a possible runaway. In other words, she got rid of the Switch so that she could say, hey, listen, Gannon took it. He ran away. He took his gaming console. It's important to him. Trying to build these lies upon lies. Ultimately, investigators located video surveillance from a neighbor's surveillance camera that showed what investigators believed to be Letitia and an individual that appeared to match Gannon's physical description depart their residence in a Nissan Frontier at or around 10:16 on January 27th. The video camera. Now listen, this is the video footage. This is the video footage everybody's seen. This is the video footage we've all looked at, analyzed, said, oh, we think Gannon didn't get back. We don't think Gannon came back after this ride. Again, this is not what law enforcement believed. Law enforcement believed Gannon was killed in the house on the 27th at 10 o'clock-ish, 10:16-ish. The video camera is several homes away and does not provide images clear enough to make positive identifications of those captured in the recording. The vehicle returned at 14:19 hours and Letitia exited the vehicle. After viewing the video, I cannot be sure if another person exited the vehicle or not, but I submit Gannon likely did return home with Letitia that afternoon. These times collaborated by data collected from the ADT security system installed in the Stauch's residence are discussed below in more detail. So now you understand that the cops are using the video evidence and more data that you and I don't have access to it until now. Based on the data returned from the Stauch's ADT security, and the motion detectors in the living room or basement did not register any activity from approximately 10-12 hours until Letitia and Gannon entered the home at approximately 14:22. Investigators confirmed Lena to be at school and confirmed that Harley was at work. As such, investigators believe there was likely nobody else in the residence except Letitia and Gannon. Leticia's historical cell site information, detailed information about her iPhone, status, and text messages sent to Harley from Gannon's phone support that Letitia left her cell phone at the Stauch residence the morning of January 27, 2020. The fact that Letitia left her phone at home is suspicious on its own, based on her history of extensive use of her phone. Now, it goes through what they reviewed her phone records. She spends a lot of time on Facebook, Instagram, approximately 10 hours over the course of a couple of days. Letitia's telephone was locked on or about 9:56 hours on January 27th and unlocked at 14:40 hours on the same day. The timing of the unlocking of the device is significant as compared to her departure and arrival from the residence and should be noted by the court. Particularly, Letitia did not open her phone for approximately 30 minutes after she arrived back to the residence. On January 27, 2020, there was a message sent from Gannon's phone to Harley's phone that reads, Tecia left her phone at home. If you need her, text me. On January 27, 2020, there was a message sent from Gannon's phone to Harley's phone that reads, Tecia left her phone at home. If you need me, text me. The message was sent at at or about 10:37 hours. Investigators were able to confirm, based on video surveillance footage and purchase receipts, that Letitia traveled to Petco, located at 5020 North Nevada, Colorado Springs, Colorado. The Petco is approximately 22 miles from the residence and is approximately 30-minute drive based on Google Map directions. The receipt shows that Letitia completed her purchase at or around 11:22 hours. Gannon was still not visible on any of the surveillance video obtained at Petco. Letitia's whereabouts are unknown between approximately 11:22 hours and 13:22 hours. At 13:22 hours, Letitia was again captured on video surveillance making a second purchase at the same Petco on North Nevada Avenue. Mr. Stauch sent a text message to Gannon's cell phone at or about 12:06 that reads, hey, buddy, this message was unanswered until 13:21. The response was, can I play Zelda at least? Mr. Stauch replied, not today. A significant event occurred on Gannon's phone at or around 13:43, which is prior to arriving back to the Stauch residence. There was an internet search for, can my parent find my cell phone if it's off? I submit that this internet search was likely conducted by Letitia on Gannon's phone and not Gannon himself, based upon the content of the search, the way the search terms are phrased, and the presence of quotes in between phone and if. This is very similar to the way Letitia conducted her searches on her phone. However, I did locate another internet search with a quote in Gannon's search history, which is also reasonable to believe would be interested. More detail explain Letitia's search history included below in paragraph 1. Believe were conducted by Letitia. Okay, which I also reasonably believe were conducted by Letitia. Furthermore, the search term was parent singular. I submit it is reasonable that Mr. Stauch only, not Letitia, would be interested in the location of Gannon's phone, and that Letitia was possibly deliberately on how or if she would dispose of Gannon's phone after she murdered him. I conducted the Google search of can my parent find my cell phone if it's off, and learned that the first answer returned in the search engine reads, the answer to your question depends on what method is being used to track your location. Gannon's phone was found at the residence. I submit that Letitia did not get rid of Gannon's phone for fear it might be traceable. The Nissan Frontier returned to the Stauch residence at about 14:20 hours. A search warrant authorized by the court was extended on the Nissan and found no indications of blood inside the vehicle. Letitia had been without her cell phone for hours, yet her screen was not unlocked until approximately 14:45 hours, which was 25 minutes after arriving back to the residence. During that 25-minute period, there is motion activity both upstairs and downstairs on ADT records. Lena returned home from school at around 15:15. During a record forensic interview with investigators, Lena stated that when she returned home, Letitia told her Gannon was asleep in her bed and that she could not see him. Letitia told Lena to go outside and play. I submit that Lena was sent outside because Gannon was likely dead, and Letitia was cleaning up blood from inside the house. Golly. At or about 15:50, Mr. Stauch sent another message to Gannon's phone. Hey, buddy. This message was not read until 1940 hours. It is likely that Gannon was already murdered by Letitia at this time. Mr. Stauch sent the message. Based on exterior video, Harley arrived at the residence in her white VW Jetta at or about 16:42 and picked up Lena. At or about 16:52 on January 27, 2020, Letitia sent a text message to Harley requesting carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda. These items were likely used to clean the murder scene. Harley purchased these items, and investigators located a receipt documenting the purchase. Harley Hunt has refused to speak with investigators. Investigators do not believe that Harley was present when Gannon was killed. Harley was at work on January 20. Get out of here. Go. Get out of here. Harley was at work on January 27, 2020 between 8:30 and 16:15 hours, and investigators were able to verify this with her employee. To be clear, investigators have not located any evidence that any person other than Lena or Letitia had access to Gannon between approximately 10 and 17:34 on January 27, 2020. Again, this goes back to what we talked about from the very beginning, that we didn't believe anybody else was involved except Letitia, that we didn't believe investigators. We believe that investigators, we actually had Al's brother on, and he said investigators were only looking at her as the sole person. Obviously, Lena not involved other than being a witness. And so this kind of continues to clarify and, confirm what we already kind of knew, that they believe Letitia was the only one involved in this thing. All right. Statements and images captured on body camera on January 27th. Okay. So this is the stuff we want. We want that BWC. You think you can get us that BWC, people? Your affidavit has reviewed body-worn camera, BWC footage, and reports obtained from a deputy that responded to 6627, the residence of the Stauch family. After responding, Letitia provided verbal consent for deputies to search the house for Gannon. By the way of timeline, El Paso County Sheriff's Patrol responded at or about 22:09 hours, approximately 3 hours after Letitia's initial call to 911. From the BWC, I learned the Volkswagen, known to be leased and utilized by Letitia, was backed into the garage when El Paso County Sheriff's was at the residence. The position of the Volkswagen in the garage is significant, specifically because of the confirmed presence of Gannon's blood in the garage below the area where the rear hatch of the Volkswagen would be, and the positive reaction of Blue Star Regent indicating likely presence of blood on the, is that a Tygoon's rear bumper? It's a Volkswagen Tygoon, I guess. Tygoon. I don't know how to even say that. Rear bumper. Responding deputies also searched in Gannon's basement bedroom, and I have viewed images of Gannon's bedroom. Now, I have a video conversation with Al's brother, and he says he believed likely that the murder happened in the basement in Gannon's room. We are reading the police affidavit again that says the murder likely happened in the room. I think I'm going to release that video information today. I think I'm going to release that full conversation that everybody's been wanting to listen to now that all this information is out. Responding deputies also searched in Gannon's basement bedroom, and I have viewed images of Gannon's bedroom taken by the BWC below. I've included BWC images of Gannon's on the left. On the right, image recovered from Leticia's cell phone after executing a search warrant that was applied for and granted by the court. The images both represent the condition of Gannon's bedroom on January 27, 2020, at or about 8:13 hours and just after 2200 hours. The photo comparison is significant for many reasons, and the corner of the bedroom where Gannon's head is visible is the key area discussed in several sections below. See right image below, taken at 1813 hours. Oh, man. Can't really see these images because they're like real bad black and white images. So golly. The photo comparison. Okay. The placement of Gannon's bed is in the immediate location where the blood based on DNA profile results was found on the wall, the carpet, and on the concrete below the carpet. These details are discussed below, and a large volume of blood appears to have been in the area. For the purpose of comparison between the images, it appears that although the sheet may or may not be the same, the blankets are different, and the pillowcase. She killed him in his room. If not, the whole pillow is different. I submit that the logical explanation for the missing bedding is that likely were saturated in blood after Gannon's murder and were removed by Letitia to clean up the murder scene. Furthermore, investigators were unable to locate the bedding in the Stauch residence during any approximately 5 searches of the residence. All right, so this one was her taking a picture of. So listen, we can't see what he's saying. We just have to believe that these color images show very clearly what he's saying. Okay, we don't see this because it's poor black and white images. Another photo was recovered from Leticia's cell phone that shows his bed was not pushed directly against the wall by the head of the bed. This photo articulates the ability for blood to get into the walls and floor in the corner of the bedroom. Mr. Stauch stated the positioning of the bed is unusual and that the bed is usually pushed against the wall. Mr. Stauch spent the night in Denver on January 25th and flew out of Denver International Airport on the 26th. Investigators were able to collaborate the travels to Dallas, Texas, and ultimately to Oklahoma based on his flight records. On the morning of January 28th, Letitia rented a 2009 Kia Rio from Avis Rental Car in Colorado Springs. Letitia picked up Mr. Stauch up at the Colorado Springs airport at or about 8:50 hours. January 20, shortly after Letitia rented the vehicle, Letitia and Mr. Stauch drove back to their residence from the airport. The timing of the rental car of the Kia is suspicious, and combined with forensic evidence later obtained from the VW and discussed below tends to place additional importance on why Letitia felt compelled to rent a vehicle that morning. Investigators located no evidence that the Volkswagen was not mechanically functioning or noted any reason why it could not have been physically driven. In fact, the Volkswagen remained parked in the Colorado Springs Airport short-term parking lot until approximately 1900 hours on January 28. Letitia provided statements to her husband, Al, that she was concerned about putting mileage on the Volkswagen lease, which justified the vehicle rental. It is noted, however, that during the time of the Kia rental, Letitia only put about 71 miles on the vehicle. During the time period, Letitia and the Kia, she would not provide location of the Volkswagen, and Mr. Stauch never saw the Volkswagen. For example, she told Mr. Stauch that the Volkswagen was near French Elementary School. Between investigators and Mr. Stauch, a limited search for the Volkswagen was conducted and produced negative results. Investigators later learned she left the vehicle in the short-term parking lot of the Colorado Springs Airport, but removed the vehicle at or about the 28th, 1900 hours. The Kia was returned on the morning of the 29th. I submit Letitia could not pick her husband up in the Volkswagen because it likely would have revealed evidence of Gannon's murder, including blood or the actual remains of Gannon himself. Oh, God. Investigators applied for and were granted by the court a search warrant for the Kia rented by Letitia. This vehicle was located at the rental car company, Colorado Springs Airport, and had not been rented to another customer in between the time Letitia... Get out of here. Get on. Get on, get on, get on. And when investigators seized it. Investigators did take a swab from a stain that was confirmed to be blood in the trunk of the Kia and submitted to the Metro Crime Lab. A DNA profile was developed and determined it was a mixture of two contributors, one which was male, and the major male profile did not match Gannon's DNA. Well, that's a little crazy to think that they took blood from a car and then it could be someone else's blood. If you're just tuning in, we're just going through the police affidavit from that was leaked last night sometime. I submit that because the Kia is a rented car, it was likely been utilized by a large number of people, and the blood in the trunk may or may not be related to the investigation. Investigations have not been able to determine the likely age of the blood and have not matched it to any known DNA profiles associated with the case. Investigators noted that the Kia had a significant amount of mud underneath the vehicle, but this did not provide any successful investigation leads in looking for Gannon's remains. Investigators collected the air filter of the vehicle and attempted to identify particles that may be useful in identifying where the vehicle might have been. Investigators were unable to recover GPS data or location history of the Kia. Letitia's Volkswagen is significant. The Volkswagen is important to investigators because they believe it was used to transport the remains of Gannon from the Stauch residence to a location where Gannon's body was dumped. The definite location of the Volkswagens are unknown to investigators during the time period of approximately 1902, January 28th, and approximately 1200 hours, January 29th. Investigators believe Letitia dumped Gannon's remains on the evening of the 28th and utilized the Volkswagen to do so. The Volkswagen was seized from Letitia on the 29th. Letitia had a scheduled interview with investigators on the 29th at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office located in downtown Colorado Springs. When she arrived at our 1200 hours, she was driving the Volkswagen. Investigators noted that the vehicle was wet and appeared to have been recently cleaned. I submit that Letitia had to clean the vehicle because there was likely visible blood on the rear end based on the below luminol reactions. Indeed, video footage was recovered that shows a partial view of a car wash located at East Platte and Bonifay Avenue. Like I told you, the video from the car wash, we talked about this. Gosh, he was cleaning that vehicle on the 29th. At the car wash, the time and location are consistent with raw data obtained from the Volkswagen's computer system described in more detail below, beginning in paragraph 15. Investigators applied for and were granted search warrants of the Volkswagen, which seized from Letitia at her interview and towed it to the El Paso County Sheriff's facility. On or about the 1st, the FBI evidence response team conducted a search of the Volkswagen. In summary, the forensic portion of the search revealed possible traces of blood on the rear of the vehicle, a rear passenger seat, front passenger seat, and an area near the glove box based on luminol forensic latent blood stain regenerate test. Swabs from the trunk area were sent to the Metro Crime Lab and further analyzed. These results revealed that a DNA profile could not be developed and that the swab from the trunk was negative for the presumption presence of blood. To be clear, luminol is a chemical used to detect trace amounts of blood at a crime scene. And although I do not have a chemical or biological background, I have learned that luminol reacts with iron in. What happened to my? Oh, here we go. I was like, whoa. What happened? Well, my page went away. I couldn't see it. Oh, no. No, I'm not yelling about my coffee. My coffee's sitting right here. We got 1 hour and I got to be on a podcast with one of my buddies. So I got to get through this thing. When applied, luminol emits blue and glow. When occur, I also aware that there are things other than blood that could cause the reaction, such as chemicals, and I do not submit that just because luminol reacted with a substance that the substance must be blood, and only that there is a strong probability of suspected blood. The positive reaction of luminol is meant to be combined with other facts in the affidavit to support probable cause. Again, they're just looking for probable cause to arrest her. They don't have to prove all this stuff right away, but it does get interesting. Several areas of the Volkswagen reacted to luminol, as mentioned in paragraph 68. Specifically, the search team found evidence of suspected blood on the rear bumper and step plate of the rear bumper. The location of the blood is significant because the vehicle was backed into the garage at Letitia's residence the day of Gannon's murder. The search of the residence is discussed below, but it is noted that the evidence of Gannon's blood based on DNA profile was also located on the floor of the garage, consistent with where the rear of the Volkswagen would have been. A photo included below demonstrates the reaction of luminol. Okay. Go through however Metro Crime Lab. So this is just going through. Within the Volkswagen, a receipt from the dollar store was located, timestamp 27/2020, and documented the purchase of trash bags, baking soda, vinegar, and the items listed in paragraph 74. Investigators believe that Harley purchased these items at the discretion of Letitia based on the following text message sent Letitia's cell phone to Harley's cell phone on January 27, 2020 at or about 16:52. Carpet powder, 2 things, baking soda, trash bags. I also included in the Dollar General store purchase was baby oil, baby lotion, cotton rounds, and bubble gum. Investigators do not believe these items were involved in the cleaning of the murder scene and likely have no investigative value at this point. I know from personal experience that baking soda and vinegar are common household items that can be used to clean blood. Additionally, I conducted open source internet searches that reveal vinegar is one of the most common items used to clean blood stains. and that when baking soda is applied to blood stains prior to vinegar, it is an efficient, effective in removing blood stains. While the purchase of these items, such as vinegar and baking soda, are common and is no sense illegal on their own, the timing of the purchase of these items and Gannon's suspected murder are beyond coincidental. Also located was a parking receipt for the Colorado Springs Airport that documented the Volkswagen was brought into the airport short-term parking lot at about 8:30 hours and left at the lot till 19:02 hours. Both on January 28, 2020. On January 29, 2020, Letitia returned to the the Kia approximately at 900 hours and was picked up by someone driving the white Jetta. Investigators were unable to confirm that Harley was driving the Jetta, but it is her primary vehicle, and her historical cell site location from her cell phone records support her phone was in that area. As such, I believe Harley was likely driving the Jetta. So Harley's picking mom up, picking up trash bags, picking up vinegar, picking up baking soda. Investigators were able to download telematics and stored electronic data from the Volkswagen. A more in-depth explanation of the Volkswagen electronic system, more specifically its history locations, were developed and will be discussed below in more detail. Beginning paragraph 152, investigators were unable to determine some of the locations of the Volkswagen on the evening of January 28th, including its location in the area of Highway 105 South Perry Park Road, Douglas County. Investigators also served search warrant to AT&T related to the International Mobile Subscriber Identity IMSI designated to the Volkswagen feature. AT&T responded to the search warrant and provided network event location system data that would give an estimate location of the Volkswagen. The data received that during the evening of January 28, 2020, between 20:30 and 2220 hours, the Volkswagen was generally in the greater northwest portion of Colorado Springs and likely also in the area north of the Air Force Academy in southern Douglas County. I submit that during this time period, investigators believe that Letitia disposed of Gannon's remains. Of note, during this time period of approximately 20:30 hours and 22:20 hours on January 28th, Harley's cell phone is connected to a tower that would serve the Stauch residence over approximately 30 miles from Letitia's suspected location. There was activity on Harley's cell phone during that time, and investigators do not believe that Harley was with Letitia when she disposed of the body. However, at approximately 2226 hours, Harley's cell phone leaves the Stauch residence and goes to the area of Powers and Carefree, where investigators suspect she picked Letitia up. In January 29, 2020, interviewer and the report of an alleged rape of Letitia. So now, the January 29, 2020 interview and reported alleged rape of TBAG. Oh, God. As mentioned above, Letitia voluntarily came to the El Paso County Sheriff's for an interview with investigators, but only after she was evasion and avoided speaking with investigators one-on-one. Her interview was audio and video recorded, and the below information included her own statements as well as investigators geared towards corroborating those stories. So this is where she goes and talks to them, and she goes and talks to them voluntarily. This is where she tries to blame a Mexican. Straight up. She tries to blame some sort of rape on somebody and says that Gannon was protecting her and stuff. Okay, here we go. Letitia was supposed to arrive at 10 a.m. on January 29, 2020, but did not arrive until noon. Although she spoke with investigators on the phone several times, she did not want investigators coming to her home. and was difficult at best to track down. Investigators provided food and water to Letitia during the interview. Of interest, Letitia brought several pieces of notebook paper with her that contained notes she had written down. During the interview, she referred to the pieces of paper and asked investigators if she could just read her notes. Investigators were not able to seize these documents. I have conducted hundreds of interviews of subjects, victims, and witnesses. It is extremely rare for an individual to bring notes to an interview. Letitia drastically departed from her initial statements given to El Paso County Sheriff's deputies regarding the report of Gannon's disappearance. In summary, Letitia said she had been held at gunpoint and raped by a Hispanic male she knew as Eduardo, and that Gannon was abducted by that male after he finished raping her. The interview detectives believed her statements were false based on prior experience investigating sexual assault cases. Out of the blue, let's go down and tell them that I was held at gunpoint, abducted, and raped, and that someone took Gannon. This someone was Eduardo. I feel sorry for Eduardo, whoever that is. Hey, out of here, girl. I'm doing a live video. Out of here. Fine. Leticia said she arrived at home at 14:30 hours on January 27, 2020. And she disarmed her security system and then went into the basement. She said that Eduardo was in the basement, attacked her, and pointed a gun at her. She said that after Eduardo held her at gunpoint, he allowed her to go upstairs to greet her stepdaughter, Lena Stauch, who had just arrived home from school. Letitia said she sent her outside to ride her bike, then returned to the basement while Eduardo vaguely penetrated her against her will between 15:30 and 16:30. During this period, she believed that she had hit her head and may have blacked out. Investigators noted no injury on Letitia's head during their contact with her. Letitia also said that during the attack, Gannon jumped on Eduardo's back and that Eduardo was able to throw Gannon off of his back and across the room. After Eduardo had finished, he had the gun held to Gannon and demanded a suitcase. Letitia provided him with a brown suitcase, and a cardboard box. Eduardo attempted to sexually assault her again, but she hit her head and blacked out again. Letitia stated that she tried to fight Eduardo off, but was unsuccessful. I know from training and experience that if an individual holds another person at gunpoint, he or she would likely not allow the person to have opportunity for escape, as Letitia described being allowed to greet her stepdaughter upstairs before returning to the basement. Most crucially, if Letitia's story was accurate, any reasonable person would have immediately called 911 and reported the home invasion, rape, kidnapping of their child. Letitia called law enforcement hours later and did not report the alleged rape until approximately 2 days later. Of even more significance, Letitia said she cleaned up the area where this alleged attack had happened. She straightened up signs of disturbances in Gannon's room and cleaned up the utility room. Investigators recovered cleaning supplies such as carpet brushes, which contained suspected carpet fibers. I submit that Letitia did in fact clean something up, but it was the murder scene of Gannon, not a sexual assault. Investigators took steps to corroborate Letitia's statements before dismissing them as false and misleading. For example, investigators reviewed video footage from a neighbor's security system that captured the exterior of the Stauch residence from the day of Gannon's murder and did not observe a Hispanic male entering the house. Investigators did observe Lena arrive home on the school bus at or around 15-11 hours, observed her enter the residence, and observed her riding her bike on or about 15:30 hours. Furthermore, Letitia was offered the opportunity to have a sexual assault nurse conducted a forensic examination at a local hospital. Ultimately, Letitia did not want to have the exam completed. When given the opportunity to provide investigators with evidence that would possibly identify Eduardo, Letitia refused to cooperate. Letitia stated that she met Eduardo on January 22nd, 2020, the day prior to Gannon's murder. She generally described a Hispanic male with brown hair and brown eyes, but could not provide any specific identifying information. In summary, she told investigators that Gannon had knocked over a candle on Sunday, causing the carpet to burn. After the incident, she drove around the neighborhood where residential construction was taking place. She met Eduardo, who was working on a house, and asked if he would repair the carpet at her home. Eduardo agreed, and Letitia provided him the garage door code, and they agreed he would repair the carpet while she was shopping the next day. My God, this woman. To the extent Letitia spoke about Lena, investigators were able to corroborate those statements, but never observed Eduardo or anyone else arrive or leave the residence during the time period based on exterior neighborhood video footage of the front of the Stauch residence. Specifically, exterior video footage revealed that Lena was riding her bike outside between approximately 15:30 and 15:42. Furthermore, the front door of the residence opened and closed at 15:28 based on data from ADT security system discussed more below. I know from training and experience that when individuals concoct lies most reasonably to conceal the truth, they oftentimes leave portions of the truth within those lies. I submit that the statements Letitia made referencing Lena and the time period Lena was at the residence are likely true based on video evidence. Her other statements, however, are blatant lies and designed to mislead investigators. Investigators also reviewed Letitia's phone records during the time period of the alleged rape. 15:30, 16:30 hours. During this time period, Letitia had phone activity to include an outgoing call and numerous iMessage text messages using an iPhone. Mr. Stauch and Harley, namely, to discuss purchasing a new set of headphones for Albert. These text messages occurred at the following times: 15:41, 15:42, 15:43, so on, so on. Investigators also were granted a search warrant by the court that was served to ADT Home Security, which requested data stored on the ADT servers related to the Stauch residence. Stauch residence was equipped with basement and living room motion detectors and conducted detectors on the front and rear door. ADT was in possession of logs and documented the time, date, and type of event that generated a log. For example, when either motion detector was activated or the front or rear door opened or closed, there is a record of that event. Letitia claimed that she was raped in the basement between 14:30 and 15:30. During that time, the back door of the residence, located on the main level, was open and closed 10 times. If indeed Letitia was being raped in the basement, it would be impossible for her to open the upstairs door of the residence at the same time. I submit that Letitia's claim of being raped in the basement are false based on her cell phone activity and the stored ADT data. The log from ADT indicates significant activity in the basement of the residence where evidence suggests Gannon was murdered. For example, between January 23rd and 2020 and January 26, 2020, and the hours of 15 and 17, the average number of basement motion events is 3.5. On January 27, 2020, the average number of basement motions is 10.3. A possible scenario for the increase in activity is that Letitia was going upstairs and downstairs in order to get cleaning supplies and cleaning the murder scene. Towards the end of the interview, Letitia said she wanted to leave. Investigators seized her cell phone and detained her while they applied for a search warrant to obtain DNA collection. Letitia began stuffing tissue in her pants and said she was having chest pains and shortness of breath. Investigators immediately requested medical assistance and paramedics from the Colorado Springs Fire Department. Letitia had appropriate responses to the paramedics' questions. I am aware that Letitia had made statements regarding Garen's disappearance to individuals other than law enforcement, including but not limited to her friends, her husband, and the media. Indeed, some of those conversations have been captured and Mirandized in recorded phone conversations and email messages. Letitia's stories have continued to evolve and material facts continue to change, including but not limited to the identity of her attacker, the location of Gannon's abduction, and details of the alleged rape. During her statements, Letitia did denied killing Gannon and provided explanations as to why was there blood in the Volkswagen, blood in Gannon's room, and why she was in the area of Palmer Park, Colorado. Letitia was transported to the hospital via ambulance from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for further medical attention. Letitia was accompanied by detectives during the ride to the hospital. Unlike questions at the El Paso County by paramedics during the ambulance ride, Letitia was unresponsive to questions by medical personnel and seemed to have a miraculous recovery when they arrived at the hospital. The ambulance ride was audio recorded. Letitia received medical care at the hospital, and the details of that care is not included in the affidavit for medical privacy reasons. Letitia did not have any life-threatening issues and signed herself out prior to all her exams being completed. Letitia continued evasive behavior at the hospital, but particularly after investigators told her they were going to detain her pending an assurance of a search warrant to collect her DNA. Ultimately, the search warrant for the collection of non-testimonial evidence was signed and executed. A second warrant for the compelled SANE exam was initially authorized by the court, but then was squashed by the court. To be clear, Letitia did not allow a SANE exam to be complete. They should have arrested her right then and there. They should have just arrested her right when she came up with this. Freaking crazy. That's what this woman is. It's crazy. Letitia was not in custody after the warrant was executed at the hospital and left the hospital without telling investigators. She also made a phone call from the waiting room at the hospital. There was physical surveillance being conducted by law enforcement in the area, and investigators learned Letitia was picked up by an unknown person at the hospital and was reunited with her daughter several miles from the hospital. Although her behavior was not illegal, I submit that it is presumed pressure continued to increase from investigators. Letitia became more and more desperate to leave the hospital, likely because she feared being caught in her lies. Furthermore, Letitia did not want to pursue collecting evidence that might assist law enforcement in identifying and finding her supposed rapist. All right. Investigators searched the Stauch residence several times over several weeks after applying for and being granted search warrants from the court. The purpose of those searches was to collect evidence, including biological evidence, in the support of caption investigation. The forensic search were conducted by the Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab. To avoid confusion, the January 28, 2020 initial search was authorized by Mr. Stauch, and he provided consent to search the residence. Not all of the evidence recovered is included below. However, the forensic testing results several items, including a pair of size 8.5 Nike shoes, were discussed in paragraph 126. Gannon's remaining family members were living in the residence during the period of the searches, and investigators did not initially seal off the residence. Crime scene analysts from Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab responded to the residence and found traces of blood throughout the residence based on Blue Star forensic latent blood stain regenerant test. There was visible blood in Gannon's room, in the garage, and in other portions of the house. Blue Star forensic stain has similar limitations to luminol, which has been described and discussed above. By way of background, the residence located in Colorado is a ranch-style single-family home, approximately 2,500 square feet with two-car garage. These are 4 bedrooms in the residence. 2 of those bedrooms are in the basement, including Gannon's. Next to Gannon's room, there's an unfinished utility room, and on the other side of the basement, another bedroom and bathroom. There is a staircase with a small landing that allows access from the main level to the basement, and the garage is accessible from inside the residence. The Blue Star regenerant was applied to Gannon's bedroom, hallway leading to the utility room from his bedroom, the utility room itself, and the staircase landing upstairs, the utility room. Pathways to garage, the stairway, garage itself. In all of these areas, investigators found positive results for likely the presence of blood. Specifically in Gannon's bedroom, in a corner of the room, investigators located an area where suspected blood had seeped through the carpet, through the pad, and stained the concrete. Furthermore, there was also blood stain and projected blood splatter located on the walls in the area. Indeed, over 50 droplets of suspected blood were found on the walls near Gannon's bed. Crime scene investigators also suspected someone attempted to clean the walls based on the way the blue regenerant reacted to the wall. Gannon's mattress was also seized and contains a red stain consistent with blood in the same area as the stain on the carpet and the blood cast off the walls. The stain on the mattresses were swabbed but were not tested with Blue Star. The laboratory results have not yet been returned, but because other blood in the area determined to be Gannon's blood, investigators suspect the blood on the mattress is Gannon's blood. I've included several crime scene photos that include the wall next to Gannon's bed. I submit that the blood located in Gannon's room appears to have been cleaned up based on the residual blood residue on the baseboards. Investigators have requested but have not yet received a report from Tom Griffin, who is an International Association of Identification Certified Senior Crime Scene Analyst, a bloodstain pattern analyst, and a crime scene reconstruction analyst. Mr. Griffin explained that blood splatter of Gannon's walls. Mr. Griffin's preliminary report that the stains on the walls are consistent with one of blood spatter producing events, which could include gunshots, blunt force, or stabbing. Mr. Griffin did not believe the blood stains were aspirated blood, primarily due to the lack of air bubbles in the stains. Furthermore, the shape of the stains were affected by the surface of the texture of the drywall itself. The final report from Mr. Griffin has not yet been received and is pending peer review. Trace evidence of swabs, suspected blood were obtained, electrical sockets. I've also included a photo of the wall next to Gannon's bed making suspected blood stains. It looked like they cut carpet out of there. I've also included photographs of suspected blood stains on the concrete. On January, investigators recovered a piece of carpet utility room with possible blood stains. The recovery of the suspected carpet tends to further support the positive alerts from the Blue Star. Let's see here. Investigators found in the dishwasher multiple carpet brushes with suspected carpet fibers on them, and the dishwasher appeared to have been run. Investigators believe these brushes were used to clean up the murder scene. To be clear, no formal testing was completed to confirm the fibers on the brush were carpet. So then they go through the evidence taken from the house. I'm not going to read all this stuff. These are just different evidence pieces. This is all the cell phone stuff. This is her back and forth, outgoing happened. This is all the cell phone information. When we came back inside from the smoke, there was blood on both of us. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I would get fussed out about it, and I didn't know if he should go to the doctor. I kept trying to add the candle thing, but Al kept saying it was small and minor. I was scared. The basement was smoky, and when I threw the covers on everything, we both had blood. You don't understand how hard it is to be a stepmom. The below message appears to contain instructions from Letitia to Harley to purchase the carpet. So this is her text messages. This is what's crazy. These Google searches. Now, I put up a video the other day yesterday about these Google searches. These Google searches are outrageous when you start reading them. Let's see. Find real military singles. Google search on the 25th. What's she looking for? Parenting should be 4 people, not 1. I'm overdoing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help. Mom advice for stepmom. If you aren't involved in your kid's life, you are shitty. My husband's ex-wife does nothing for her kids. I wonder, these are her Google searches. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a card since I raised her kids. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me Valentine's cards since I raised her kids. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me Valentine's cards since I raised her kids. These are Google searches happening on her phone. One day, some people will wish they treated you differently. One day, some people will wish they treated you differently. Why should my husband choose me over family? Find me a rich guy who wants me to take care of his kids. Find a guy who wants me to take care of his kids and get paid. It's crappy some parents don't care for their kids or buy them presents. Parents are those who put their kids before their nails. My husband burned the carpet. How do I fix it? That was at 127. Will humidifier help if I'm exposed to smoke? Smoke will fire be humidifier. Colorado law for staying at home. School is out. Is it okay for my kids to stay home alone? Son is sick, but I have to go to work. Son's sick. Can I stay home? Repair kit for sofa. El Paso County Sheriff's Office number. That's at 654. What is the process for a runaway child? Police steps for our runaway. Police steps for our missing child. Today's flight okay to Colorado Springs. Can Nintendo find my Switch? CarNet, Volkswagen. They are asking for our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong. Investigators were also able to recover internet search history that was deleted from Leticia's phones. No time and date associated was located with the data, and I can only assert that the searches were conducted prior to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office seizing the phone on January 29th. Some, but not all, of the search history is included below. Some of the other detailed search terms included travel planning, shopping, job searches, and other seemingly innocent activity. I have not purposefully left out any particular search that would be explanatory in nature, and I am not intending to portray that all of Letitia's deleted searches were nefarious in nature. Find me a new husband book. I feel like I'm just a nanny, not a stepmom. Husband uses me to babysit his kids. Are there any free money to move away from bad situations? My husband never posts about me, but does everything else. My husband only cleans up for the army, not me. I'm just a glorified babysitter. Find a new husband. Sent my husband sexual messages and he ignores them. Make my husband want me more. I feel like my husband uses me to babysit his kids. Find a guy without kids. What do y'all think about all these Google searches? Man. Wow. The husband only cleans up for the army, not me. That's a crazy one. I read this all last night. It was just humbling to think someone is so deceptive. Just sad nobody wins from her actions, so why destroy so many people? To assume those search results about leaving him alone were searched to determine how to tell her story. Maybe she initially wanted to say she left home alone and he disappeared. She's looking up finding a new husband, but made when her current hubby won't. Jeez. Hey, what do you want? Get out of here. We got like 6 inches of snow last night.
It was actually in the afternoon.
In the afternoon. What are you doing in here? Go on.
Where else are you supposed to go in this small house?
Oh, go sit on my bed. Yes.
I'm scared by myself.
Oh, don't be saying you feel scared by yourself.
What did I do?
Come on. Don't make me tell you twice. Fine. Fine.
Stop repeating what I say.
Don't make me.
Muffin, go!
See, muffins can't bother you if you're in there. I think she was lonely because she was lonely and selfish. I think all I know is some craziness right here. On January 28th, approximately 1604, investigators asked Letitia for Gannon's toothbrush to recover his DNA. At or about 19 hours, Letitia did a search in her internet browser of, they are asking for our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong. Text conversation between Mr. Stauch. Something isn't right. I think they are hiding something. Who? The police? Yes. They asked for toothbrushes. What do you think they're hiding? What do you think? What do you want from me? Because I have nothing. One of your very own leaked to me what you guys were doing. I did nothing and I'm being set up. I'm not really even sure other than being told that by another blue with El Paso. I was told I couldn't go home to sleep, and on top of that, men were sent to my home with a minor female, and she was forced to stay there, not to even leave for food. Every conversation that said, even at this moment, I can hear inside, what do you want from me? Come in to talk to me. I just like information to find Gannon. Oh, so this is a conversation she's having between the cops. So this is the tracker data in her phone. Tracker data in her car. They're going through all of this stuff. Guys, I'm getting tired. Most of this is very, very much vital to the investigation. It's stuff that we kind of already knew. It's this information that why they were searching. Well, they had tracker information from her vehicle. Now, it's interested to see Gannon's blood in the area discussed below. So this is right here, 105. I'm just kind of looking through this to see if there's anything. There's a lot of information. I could take hours and hours to go through this. You can all go through this. This is at some Google. You can find it online. Story 1. Oh, so now they're labeling her stories. She has 4 different stories. So this is interesting. Okay. Came on January 27th. The abductor was still in her residence, and that she tried to signal El Paso County deputies that there was somebody in the residence. It should be noted that El Paso County deputies checked the entirety of the house, and no additional person was located during the search. Story 2. She was raped by Quincy Brown's at her residence, and Brown abducted Gannon. She knew Brown's identity because she saw a paper and his identification card fell out of his pocket and had his name on it. Letitia sent a photograph of Quincy Brown to Mr. Stauch via text messages. It is noted this photograph mirrored images online where Quincy Brown was listed as a most wanted suspect discussed below. Quincy Brown followed her from Petco and at some point was laying in the middle of the road in front of her car. When Letitia stopped to avoid running the man over, he jumped into her car and made her take him home and raped her. Letitia and Gannon were near County Line Road, Highway 105. Where did this? I must have missed it. Where did the continue evolve of her story? Okay, so these stories, she just started making shit up. Okay, this is what most of this stuff is her telling lies. Quincy Brown, age 37, was listed El Paso County's most wanted list February 10, 2020. I was able to locate Brown's photo at KKTV website where they describe Brown as a black male. So now she's blaming a black man. She described her rapist as Hispanic. The photo on this website appeared to be the same photo Letitia sent to Mr. Stauch. Brown has outstanding arrest warrants for failure to register as a sex offender and failure to appear. These warrants appear to have been open since 2008. Gosh, she just started making shit up. I'm going to have to come back to all this. Man, this thing goes on for fake polygraph test. I can't with this. I can't continue to go. All right, I can't keep going. Hey, you're watching Dadwithaphone. I'll be back. I actually have a podcast that I scheduled today that I have to that I'm gonna go through and take. If we learned anything from this arrest affidavit, it is that Letitia is a full-out crazy liar. She lied to the police from the start. She told multiple stories. She's tried to blame multiple people. She's given multiple versions of what happened, when it happened, how it happened, could have happened, would have, should have happened. But the truth is, the evidence is pretty clear. Something happened in that house. That's what you have to understand. All this information in the arrest affidavit, a lot of it has to do with her crazy story. This is why you're just never supposed to say anything, because if you're going to lie and you're going to tell multiple lies, they're going to come and they can make assumptions based on their evidence, right? But because she added to that with all this extra lies, all of a sudden the fingers are pointing at her. It's her fault she's getting caught. It's her fault she's done this. It's her fault that she's felt this way. Nothing should be put on Al. Nothing should be put on Landon. Nothing should be put on these kids. This is a true psychopath of a woman, and she has lost it. Straight up lost it. And so we'll continue. I'm going to go back through this. I know it's not done. Man, I could sit here I've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes and we barely touched the surface. We still have pages of this thing to go through. Best part about it is I get to turn it off for a second. Hey, I'm going to be back in just a few minutes with one of my longtime friends and a businessman, an artist, smart dude. We're going to talk about the world as we know it now and the world as we're headed into it with this virus stuff. It's not true crime. Well, you're welcome back to join me for that podcast. I'm not going to be talking about Gannon Stauch's case during that podcast, but we will be back later today to talk more about the arrest affidavit, more information that we've received and some things. I am also going to release the full conversation, no edits, of the Al Stauch or the Alex Stauch conversation, which kind of gives you all this information again from a family member who knew this information from the start. Talked to Dad with the phone pretty early on in this case. So we'll be back later today. Thanks for joining. If you want to follow me on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all those links at the bottom of the screen. If you want to throw money in the bucket, there's a bucket at the bottom of the screen. You can PayPal me directly to that account. If you like watching Dad with the phone, we'll be back late. We'll be back in like 20 minutes with an entirely different podcast. Thanks for watching Dad with the phone. We'll see you guys later.